Hey guys, this is Eliza Haze, and you are listening and watching to the Three Count Podcast.
I'm in fashion, roll with cold passions.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Into Ring, and I'm your host Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And after season 4, like our 300th and something episode, I would just hope you say it with me. I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring today? Well, you can find our guest at 1FAW, DCCW, Shine, Division, Ignite, MFW, and Daily Wrestle. She is sweet. She is fly, and she is your favorite flower child. She is Eliza Haze.
Hey everybody.
What's up? Yo, thank you for coming on the show. I definitely appreciate this.
No problem, man.
So it was cool because we kind of met in the spaces, and then we kind of started talking back and forth about some things that were going on. Like you were looking at moving, and then so I wanted to go through and check out your cage match, and I actually saw that you got to work with one of our friend of the show, Sahara 7.
Yep.
And I was very excited. So I went back and I watched the match, and I was like, oh snaps. So I was definitely excited. It got me interested, and I started checking out some of your other work too. So I was like, oh look, this is someone I can get to talk to and learn from and talk to, especially someone coming from Devon's place, right? Because that was, that's a pretty massive school to come from.
Yeah, it's a great place to go, especially if you're starting out. They definitely focus on conditioning, and ring conditioning is huge. If you really want to be successful, you've got to get the ring conditioning down. They also do a lot of work with psychology, and if you're gonna do this move, why would you do this move, kind of thing. Don't just waste movement. And it's about winning. You're in there to try to pin the person. So they do a lot of great work over there. His conditioner, Dan, he actually is in the PA Sports Hall of Fame, and he helped train American gladiators and Olympic athletes. So the guy knows what he's talking about. So he does a lot of the conditioning, and Devon does the wrestling and technical part, and they make a great team over there.
Yeah, it's funny too because that's something one of my trainer was actually talking to me about. He's he calls it the 3 types of shape, right? You can be out of shape, in shape, and then in ring shape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, a lot of people, they'll come into the business and they think that it's or the sport, the performance, whatever you want to call it, right? They come in and they think, well, I can do it. I see what they're doing on TV, and I know that it's not real. But then once you get in and start learning how to do some of the stuff, you're like, oh no, you really have to work at this cardio thing in ring and out of ring. Otherwise, you get zapped instantly.
Yeah. It can be brutal. I trained at Devon's, though. I only did about a year over there before I started having knee problems, and I couldn't really participate like I wanted to. So I kind of stepped back for a bit and tried to do some drop-ins at a couple places whenever I could. DCCW, they do an open ring some Saturdays, so I would go up there and work out with those guys and help train some of their up and coming guys.
That's cool though. See, and it's always about that thing about giving back to the business, right? Because everybody talks about you get in this and then you start doing it for yourself and stuff, and at some point you kind of want to return the favor. And some people are selfish, some people just don't do it, right? But other people will want to help people come along and teach them, right, about what how to take this bump or perform this move, or I don't know, do a podcast to show people hey, yo, you interview people and discuss different types of techniques and stuff like that, or just have them on your show, just have fun and have great conversations. But it's one of those things where it's you start to understand how important that this is to give back, right? Whether you want to get back into networking or whatever it is, but you just start to understand I want to get back and help people.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a
Yes.
question though. You for those who don't know who you are, who is Eliza Hayes?
I am Eliza Hayes, your favorite flower child, trippy hippie, formerly from Florida, but now residing in New Mexico. So
I
I
love it.
literally just got out here about a week ago.
Yeah, we were talking about that, right? Because
Hmm.
a good friend of the show as well, Gino Told You So, is out there, and he is very helpful with anybody who's like trying to kind of make their way around and getting to know the area. So it's definitely he's got a great learning tree. I know a lot of the students that come through his program, and then I get to talk to them and interview them and stuff like that. But they all talk so highly about Gino, and then Gino is well known throughout like that whole Southwest area. So it's definitely big props to him and the work that he does out there.
Yeah, pretty much everybody that I've talked to, the first name that they give is Geno's. So Albuquerque is about 3.5 hours north of where I am, but I'm definitely going to try to get up there and check it out. Maybe like some weekend when I don't have anything else planned, just maybe go up and make a weekend out of it or something.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those people. Like even like if you just like drop into his Facebook page and just like
Mhm.
ask a question. Like he's willing to just sit back and just give you back knowledge. And it was something that I picked up on pretty quickly after I had seen him on another show actually called What's Up Wrestler, hosted by a friend of mine who lives in Massachusetts now, Justin Del Rio. When I heard his interview with him, and Justin's just a fan, right? But when I heard his interview, I was like, well, there's a lot that he wants to give. So I jumped and I ran into him. I talked to him online, and then we started talking about like just different things that were going on. And I was asking questions and stuff like that about like different types of promos and how he would cut this story or that story, or he would talk about this or that, do this move, did this sequence. I sent him a match, get all my critiques back, and then just like start chopping it up. And so I live in Baltimore, for those who wonder. And like, so for someone from Albuquerque to reach out to someone or talk to someone from Baltimore, like that just tells you like how open hearted he is.
Yeah.
But how did you get into the business?
Um, about 5.5 years ago, well, actually, it was a little more than that. My my partner, they started really getting into it because when they were growing up, they were huge wrestling fans. So there was a school in Daytona. I lived in New Smyrna Beach in Florida at that time, and it was like just beneath Daytona, and there was a little school there, and they were like, "Hey, man, I really want to try this out." So they went up there and started doing it. It's like, come on, you got to get in here with me. And I had actually had neck surgery a year or so before that, C5 C6 fusion,
Mm.
and you could still see the scar in a lot of like my pictures and stuff. But I was like, no, there's no way I could do that. But then eventually, like a year after he started or they started, they were like, okay, now you have to get in here. I was like, okay. So I got in and then I just never got out. I started in 2017, I believe it was, like somewhere around Halloween. And by that January, I was refing at shows because the school had weekly shows at the time. So I was refing and I refed until about December when I made my debut.
That's kind of cool though, because like you got in just kind of like someone else was doing it, you kind of got interested, you got in, and then so like you said, you got into refing. So they gave you an opportunity to kind of just learn from like the outside before you actually got in to make your own debut. And I feel like that's a huge advantage because like for me, I started January 2020, and one of the first matches that I actually got involved with was with Grimm's Toy Show, and I was a ref as well for like 6 different matches. So I got to learn like, hey, we got this count here, we got that rule
Mhm.
there, we got this thing to do here. We're trying to stay out of you start to learn about angles and like stay out of like certain people's way so that people can watch the action without you getting involved with it. Like it was a lot of like technicality stuff that like I was fortunate enough to get to learn pretty quickly. But that's cool that you got to do it weekly, and then you
Mhm.
were like so comfortable by the time you got in the ring, you're like, hey, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and I was training that whole time too. I think that for me, I think that everybody should learn how to ref as they're training, because it gives you that chance to get into the ring without the spotlight being on you. So you get used to being in front of all those people, like you were saying, the angles. You get used to the different angles. You get used to learning where the cameras are, because as a ref, you don't want to stand there with your back at the camera all the time. So you learn where like your hard cam is and things like that. Um, just learning how to stay out of everybody else's way when you need to. But you also learn a little bit about the psychology and how that works, and how wrestlers communicate in the ring and all of that. So like it gives you that hands-on experience, that live experience, without you being the center of attention, without you having to focus on doing moves and doing moves safely. You're just kind of in there as that ghost participant, basically.
I like that.
And
I like that. I like that word, ghost participant. I was thinking side saddle, but yeah, definitely ghost participant is like the best way to put that.
yeah, because I mean, you don't want the attention to be on you as a ref. So I think it's definitely really important, and I wish more schools would do that and have their students learn how to ref as they're doing their training.
I got very lucky in the school that I train at because we'd always do like practice matches. Like
Mm-hmm.
after we get done with like all of our big training sessions, we do practice matches,
Oh yeah.
and then we would have students come in and just work on being refs so they can understand as well. Like, hey, we should do this, don't do this, do that, don't do this, right? And I feel like, and not that I would need to say it like this, but I don't think we critique our refs enough, which not to bury my school because that's not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to point out parts, but it's definitely something that I should definitely start thinking about more too, is like helping the people who are in the ring to be like, hey, like there's this part where you and they were like together in the corner and you were like right behind them. You know, I would be off to the side, maybe off to the left, so where hard cam is, that way hard cam can still see your face. And like I definitely like that. I think that's something because it'll help everybody realize like, oh yeah, ring positioning, and we got to be in this position, that position, stay out this way, get over in this part. So I definitely that's a great idea. I need to start doing that.
Yeah, and in my original school, it was cool. We only had really one, maybe two pairs of eyes on us when we were doing practice matches, and we would have like two students in the ring for the practice match, and then one of them would be the ref. So we'd basically like take the rounds, and then you would ref somebody else's practice match, and you'd get critique on both parts of it. At Devon's school, they actually have Derek. I'm blanking on his last name all of a sudden, but he's an ex WWE ref, and he actually is working on like the ref part now. So they're actually coaching refs as well. So then you've got your physical trainer keeping an eye on you when you're doing your matches. You've got your technique trainer, and if you're the ref, you have somebody watching you as well. So
I
you're
like
really
that.
getting like a solid production technique, like everything. You're getting the whole package over at Devon's.
That is cool though. That is very cool. Like I never even it's crazy because that's not an idea that I thought about. And now like that you bring that up, that's just kind of like a light bulb to me. Like, oh, why don't we do that or talk about that? So we have to
Mostly
definitely.
it's just having somebody that has the experience with reffing, having somebody like that on hand, like somebody who can watch for that stuff. A lot of the times when you have your trainers, they're watching the wrestlers because that's their main focus.
I like that. Yeah, yeah. I think that's something I'm gonna have to bring up a lot more. Uh, so almost 6 years in, right? And you've had, especially for someone who's coming off of like, and you came off a neck surgery before you got started. But I want to know what's the worst bump you've taken?
Um, oh gosh, probably probably the power bombs from my original trainer. I did some intergender matches with him, and there's video of it floating around there somewhere. I think I actually have some clips like on my YouTube, on my Facebook. But he was like 6'6", like he was like really tall dude, And when you go up for the power bomb, like that's a long way down. Thankfully, the ring we had when I took those was a 6-sided ring. So 6-sided rings, because they have to be so tight, have a lot of bounce. It's basically like a trampoline when you're in the middle of it. So
Mm-hmm.
like you hit it and you hit it hard, but then you kind of like whoop, pop back up. It makes multiple power bombs a lot easier on the person giving them because they don't have to lift you up as much because you're already halfway up.
I
But
like
yeah,
that.
those were probably the hardest bumps that I've taken. Other than that, probably back in July when I got my nose broken.
Ow.
Yeah, that one hurt.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then, did you have to just sit in the back and someone just like set it for you?
Well, nobody ended up setting it. What happened was I was making my debut at WWN. They're a wrestling network, and they do like a weekly student showcase kind of thing, Friday nights out in Newport Richey, Florida. And they have a YouTube channel too. Like check it out. There's a lot of awesome guys there, but they don't have a lot of women's matches. So we were actually doing a women's tag match, and they had me working as a heel on that one. So I got in, and about a minute into the match, like not even, I'm taking a Meteora from somebody, and
Oh.
the blood starts gushing everywhere. And because they only have one canvas, they have a very strict no blood rule. So I'm in the corner, and I'm taking stuff, and they called the match, and I was like, no,
Mm.
keep going, keep going.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I get it.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
just a little blood. So they changed it into a singles match then. So me and the one other girl, she went over into the bathroom with me, and she was really new at that point, and it was the first time she'd seen somebody get injured in the ring. So she's kind of like freaking out a little bit, and I was like, "It's okay. It's just a little bit of blood, and it's like dripping all down my gear and all over my tights, and like I've got like a wad of paper towels just." But yeah, nobody ended up setting it, and I was like, "It's probably not really broken. You know, it's probably gonna be okay." And then when the swelling went down, it was a little more crooked than normal. So I was like, "Oops, probably should have gotten that looked at."
It's like, yeah, it's definitely broken.
Yeah. So lesson learned: if you have blood
Speaking of,
gushing everywhere, you should probably go see a doctor.
yeah, I think that's something that we talk about at a couple other shows too. Is that we're talking about uh, excessive blood. Like, just go. Don't ask. Just go.
Yeah,
Leave. Go to the hospital. If it's broken, if it's out of place, and there's blood, you should go to the hospital. Get checked out.
yeah.
Like, it's
And
necessary.
I drove myself there that night, so I was like, oh, this is all swollen now, and I have to drive like 2.5, 3 hours home by myself. It's like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
Uh, with a broken nose too, and you're just like, ow, 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 like not trying to touch it,
And
but
I messaged my partner, and I was like, hey, honey, just so you don't see it on my internet posts first. Hi, surprise.
oh yeah, just it's a slight shift. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
So, speaking, you had mentioned about it's a lesson that you learned, right? What's one of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn?
Um, you can't always win. Every time you go somewhere, you have to be confident in your own abilities. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere. But you also have to remember that sometimes you have to check that ego at the door, especially if you're new somewhere. If you're new, chances are you're not going to be winning for a while. And that's a hard lesson for a lot of people to learn when they first start out because you get released from training and it's like, all right, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to show everybody how amazing I am. But showing everybody how amazing you are doesn't mean you have to win. Sometimes taking that loss can be more impressive than getting the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think it's one thing that I think about a lot too is that like if I'm not winning, what can I do to get over with a crowd? Rather whether I'm a heel or I'm a face, it really doesn't matter. I want to know what I can do to get over with the crowd. That's like the number one thing that I want to make sure that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like have a genuine connection with that crowd, whether they love me or they hate me. That's what I really want to. I want to see because at the end of the day, like if they like me or they hate me, I've done my job, and that's where
Okay.
I've been like myself. That's why I've kind of continually like made sure I pulled from like wins and losses shouldn't matter, but for some reason to a lot of other people they do matter, and
Hmm.
it kind of confuses me. I was like, you can win a whole bunch, and if nobody cares, did you really win? I was like,
Yeah. If the crowd leaves at the end of the night and they don't remember your match, you didn't win. Like, even if they held up your hand at the end of that, you still didn't win because nobody's going to remember you. But if
yeah.
you go out there and you give it your everything and you make that connection with the crowd, you could have had a match that was all arm wringers and headlocks. But if you made that connection, they're going to remember you.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree with that, and I like that. I like that idea of saying like you're not always gonna win, like, and you shouldn't always win anyway. Like that just doesn't. Nobody in this, even at its best, right? You could be like, well, you're not gonna be Goldberg, you're not Asuka, right? Like even those people had their undefeated streaks come to an end. So
Um,
like, why do you think that you're like at the same pedestal? And you know, everybody wants you to go out there and connect with the crowd. So just make a connection, have some fun,
yeah.
enjoy this because that's what you're supposed to do anyway. That's why we got into this is because we wanted to have fun, beating up our friends in tights.
Yeah. Murder gymnastics.
Murder gymnast. Go, I like that. Would you then call it like murder astics? Murder astic? Would that be right?
Or it was a comic strip I saw once where it was like one girl was trying to get her friend to watch wrestling with her, and she's like, "Costumed murder gymnastics! I love it." I
Yes.
share that every time that one pops up on my feed.
I like that. All right. Well, seeing that you've been in and you've been traveling to a lot of different locker rooms and stuff like that, one thing I love to ask this question is I need one do and one don't of the locker room.
Oh, okay. One do, always try to get to everybody and shake everybody's hand, or at least say hello to everybody. Because obviously, like, sometimes it's just not practical to get over there and shake somebody's hand, especially with a don't if they're in the middle of a conversation. Um, you just stand there awkwardly while two people are talking, waiting for them to stop. Like, don't do that. And I've done that, and I still do that every so often just because I'm a weirdo and I'm an awkward person sometimes. But yeah, try not to do that. But you do still want to try and at least like get over there later when they're not talking to somebody, they're not planning their match or whatever. It just be like, hey, I didn't get to say hi earlier. But yeah, do always introduce yourself, say goodbye, all that stuff. Always try to help with the ring. Even if you've been in the business for a while, if you can, like I understand like sometimes people have to go. And I've had that too, where like you can't get there until closer to bell time, or you have to leave like right after your match or whatever. Like stuff like that happens, especially if you're coming from a long way. But if you can, help set up and tear down. Doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. Everybody wants to, get in there, get some ring time, or everybody wants to go home. So
Yeah.
just pay your dues that way.
I like that. I like both those. I mean, it makes sense. Like the one thing is like we're that show gets put up and it needs a lot of hands to get put up. So it definitely makes sense to, you know, go out there and help the best that you can because promoters will remember that, right? That
Yeah.
you're that person that stayed later or that came early and just wanted to help out, and the people remember that, and that's why it's always important. And I think one thing that really promoters appreciate too, just share the flyer. Like it's not
Oh
that
yeah.
hard. Just
Yeah.
share. Just hit that share button. Just put it on your page, retweet it, whatever. Just share it.
It's amazing the number of people who won't share a flyer or do a promo. Like, promos take maybe like 5 minutes, you know, and because even if you have a couple of takes and you have to do your editing or something like that, like your promo still shouldn't be more than maybe a minute top, unless you're in like a really deep, complicated storyline and you're doing some special cinematography thing or whatever. Like a regular promo should be like 30 seconds to a minute, and just do it, you know? Find a nice spot, like outside somewhere, like because I have the whole hippie gimmick. I've been trying to do some of mine outside at like a park or something. Get different backgrounds. Don't do it against the plain wall. But if you have no other choice and that's the only background you have, fine. But just do the promo, share the flyer. It's not that hard, guys.
It's really not. I do. So my character is based like Deadpool, but he likes to do different like areas and just different styles. So like for those, like, yes, like 30 seconds of my promo is just an intro of just me. But like I love just like telling funny stories where like I pretended once I was Steve from Blue's Clues and like went and found clues around my house. And I've done ones where like I've done as a Disney Channel, and I've done ones where it was a breaking news. I've done others where like it was like I hacked somebody's remote like rear view camera and pretended I cut a promo from there. Like I've done so many of them with different styles and stuff like that. It's been so much fun to do. And I think like it's you just have to you keep coming up with new ideas, and you just don't even think about it. Just shoot the promo and just put it out for whoever wants to see it. Like I've done promos or I pretended to be other people, like other wrestlers,
Mm-hmm.
and do the promo the way that they're doing them, so that way they know like it's meant for them. Like it's wild, like all the fun stuff you can do, and it's so weird that people are like, nah, I don't like being in front of the camera. Then why are you in this? Why are you here?
Yeah.
Like why are you in the sport? Like to me, it just doesn't make sense. Like you want to be in front of a lot of people and in front of the hard cam, but you can't be in front of your own camera to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but.
It's crazy.
But we're going to jump into the best segment of the 3 Count Podcast, and that is the 3 Count Podcast 10 count questions. And Eliza, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. And whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
Okay.
So we're going to put on an imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing. And in the words of my favorite MMA color commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw.
Favorite movie?
Princess Bride.
Let's go. Marvel or DC?
Marvel. Though I am Batman.
I like it. I like it though. Favorite cartoon?
Oh God. Let's go with the Owl House for right now.
Okay. PlayStation or Xbox?
Nintendo.
Let's go. Yeah, you know what? I love it. I love it. Favorite actor / actress?
Actor, let's go Ryan Reynolds.
Let's go. Let's go with Ryan Reynolds. Let's do. Let's go with violets or tulips?
Violets.
I like it. Favorite podcast?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't listen to a whole lot of podcasts. Hot dog is a sandwich.
Yes. I found that one by accident. And yes, 100%.
I love those guys.
Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Gosh, okay. Let's go with my buddy DMC because that guy needs some more promotion. Like, he's going places.
Okay, cool, definitely. And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this podcast. Favorite curse word?
Fuck.
It's gotta be. It's like the greatest word ever.
Part of my regular vocabulary.
It has to be. Like, I think a lot of people who don't use the F word, like, I just, even by accident, like when you like smash your finger or maybe you get slammed wrong, like it's just a natural word that comes out. And if you don't use it, I feel like something might be wrong with you.
Well, and it can be used as any part of a sentence. It's super versatile.
Or every part of the sentence.
Exactly. I probably can't say the whole sentence on here, but
You 100% can. You can legit be like, "Ayo, fuck the fucking fuckers," and you will be okay with that.
get several different parts of the sentence by going fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite ones.
Throw it in a word, right? And fucking incredible. Like, it's great.
It's so versatile.
It is. So the last thing that I am, we're never getting monetized on YouTube. Just gonna put that out there. That question, that's my favorite question to ask every single person. And after like almost 300 and like 20 something episodes, yeah, we're never getting monetized on YouTube. But the last thing I need you to do is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
All right. I am on Facebook. I have a fan page and I also have my regular page. I am on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
There you go. She gave you her handle. She told you where you can find her. And the last thing, like every great part of a wrestling match, we got to take this home because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. Now, man, that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And, you know, like every good sharper, you got to have someone who's been there, done that. If you do it more efficient than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's into the ring. So who's into the ring? You see her right there, Eliza Haze herself. So you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately following us on all of our YouTube links. No, I'm sorry, all of our social media links. You're even subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're leaving us 5-star Frost Flash reviews that you can do on Apple Podcasts. You even listen to us on Amazon Music. Yeah, we're there. Also, ProWrestlingTees.com or ForYourWear.com. Go buy our merch. Go tell your friends about us. Tell your family about us. Tell your enemies about us. Because if they don't like us, that's great. We're doing our job. But if you don't like us, and they do like us, that's great. You're doing your job. But more importantly, doing all that stuff, letting everybody know about us, or, you know, you're really just kind of waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for the outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want you to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there. Find us at the 3Count_pod. Give us a follow. Give us a like. Give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3Count_pod. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com. Give us a subscribe. Turn the bell on. Turn the notifications. Leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh! At ProWrestlingTees.com/the 3Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So, show us some support, please.